learning something. Yeah, learning something new, having fun while doing it. Our educational session is all about decoding idioms, those quickeries, colorful expressions, and that makes language richer, colorful, and expressive, that makes everything delightful, at the same time, confusing. And let's lead us through this journey, and we have someone who truly walks the talk. When it comes to leadership, Maria George doesn't just go to the extra miles. She goes to the extra marathon. With over 7.5 years of experience in IT industry, she currently shines as an associate product manager, a role that mirrors her Toastmasters journey. Thoughtful growth and oriented and purpose driven. Within Toastmasters, Maria have worn more hats than a fashion show runway. Area director, club secretary, twice the VPE, and club president, even part of the area extended team. She has also lifted new club off the ground as dedicated sponsor and mentor too. But her magic doesn't end there. Maria once delivered a presentation so powerful that it made the chief strategy officer of HR Block says, I want to join Toastmasters. Now that's what we call making an impact that speaks volumes. She's also a third place evaluation contest winner and a finalist of the International Speech Contest 2023-24. In short, Maria doesn't just break legs. She breaks barriers, break expectations, and sometimes she even leaves the audience lost of words. She's pursuing her MBA with leadership at the University of West of Scotland. So, Toastmasters. Without further ado, let's roll out the red carpet. Turn our ears and open our minds. Please join me welcoming the powerhouse of the communication, the epitome of excellence, TTM Maria George. Over to you, Maria George.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shalu. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
So I'll just take a second to come down from there. You send me up with all the kind words, and wow, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. So without further ado, I'll just share my screen. I'll attempt to share my screen. I hope it's visible. It's got to have. Oh yes, there you go. I hope it's visible with the right. Yes, is requesting bypass. Okay, I'll allow it. All right. Yes, I can see Raji saying it's visible. All right, so I'm here to crack the idioms. It didn't work. My knuckles weren't cracking properly. So we'll do it in three phases. I'm Distinguished Toastmaster Maria George. I used to be a part of H&R Block Toastmasters. Now I am pursuing my MBA and I've taken a short break from Toastmasters. Will rejoin this month. I'm doing my MBA at University of the West of Scotland, UWS. And without further ado, let's start cracking. So we'll do it in three phases: what, why, and how. So this 1 hour I'll dedicate it to three sessions. What is idioms? What are idioms? Why do we use it? And how can we use it? Having said that, let's go on to what. So idioms or idiom is a phrase or expression that has a figurative, non-literal meaning that is different from the literal meaning. Now I want all of you to unmute and say, do you find this interesting, this definition? You can be honest, I won't feel bad because this is not my definition. This is what Google gave me. So, no offense. Do you find this definition interesting? A figurative, non literal meaning. Raji, do you find this interesting? You're going to contradict my next point. Yes, I don't. He disagrees with me. Yes, he agrees with me. This is not interesting. So, I feel that this definition does not do justice to what idiom is. It's kind of a little boring for a very interesting topic. So I want all of you to imagine a cake. Imagine a cake. All right. I know it's Christmas time, so you all will be thinking about plum cakes. No, a normal cake. Plum cakes are perfect as it is. So just think of a normal cake. It's tasty. You can serve it with tea, right? It serves its purpose. It fills your tummy and your heart. Now imagine I add a little bit of whipped cream and frostings and a cherry on top. Will it not make it very, very, the ordinary cake moving into extraordinary levels? Yes. So if you're a sweet tooth like me, you will love it. Having said that, that's exactly what idioms do. Sometimes it's something that you use to garnish your sentences or usage. The garnishing, just the pinch, to add that special zing. And the best part is, it has got no relation to the literal meaning. A phrase or a sentence that you use to add the extra flavor or the extra zing to what you're trying to convey is what we call idioms. But it has got no relation to the literal meaning. To put that into perspective, it's raining cats and dogs. That's a very common idiom. Now, what is the literal meaning? Cats and dogs are falling from the sky. Has anybody seen that?
Yeah, it's heavily raining. Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
The literal meaning is cats and dogs are falling from the sky. But what do we try to convey with that? It's raining heavily. Another common example is it's raining elephants and hippopotamuses. I'm not sure if the plural is right, but elephants and hippopotamuses. Does it mean that elephants are falling from the sky? No. It means that there are a lot, it's so heavy, the rain is so heavy that it's like elephants and hippopotamuses falling down from the sky. So this is what idiom is. You have nothing to do with literal meaning. So if you read an idiom and you try to decode it from the literal meaning, it's not going to make sense. You will have to piece it together with the context. Moving on, yes. Why do we use it? So we know what exactly. It's the garnish, it's the extra masala. But why? Why do we have to go the extra mile? Why do we have to add this? Think of the cake again. It serves its purpose. It's tasty. You can have it with tea. And why do we need to add that extra zing? 3 points. Point number one, it can reduce the length of the sentence and thereby time is saved. So, ISC contestants, this is for you. Let's say you have a speech of 7 minutes 20 seconds and it's dangerously close to the 7 minutes 30 seconds time frame. What do? See if you can use an idiom somewhere. And what happens? You get two advantages. One is a brownie point for using, because in the judging criteria, if you notice, there is a marking criteria for using, extraordinary usages, great vocabulary. Your idioms will fall into that place. So what happens is that you get that brownie point. And second, it can reduce the length of a sentence and thereby help you save time. So maybe, let's say there's a sentence which is 15 words long, and you can reduce it to 6 words or maybe 9 words, and that will reduce maybe 2 or 3 seconds. Never underestimate the strength or the strength or the power of seconds. You can either get disqualified by a second or you can be saved by a second. So having that reduction in seconds is very, very important. So I'm not saying idioms will reduce the length of the sentence. It can reduce the length of the seconds. I mean length of the sentence. Convey emotions. You can use adjectives, adverbs, you can use a lot of things to convey emotions. Now, let's say the other day I was very irritated with the net. The net speed wasn't working. Just now, Zoom wasn't working, and I was very irritated with Zoom. Now, when I say I'm irritated, I was frustrated, I was angry, eh, right? However, if I say I saw red because of Zoom, immediately you might think of, my eyeballs turning red, or, a bull with my face on ready to charge. There's a picture that is being created. With just 3 words, I can say that I am very, very angry. I'm livid. I saw red. Or let's say, some days you don't feel that great. I'm feeling blue. I'm sad. Not very happy. I just use 3 words and I conveyed that I'm very sad. I'm not feeling well. Meh. I feel blue. Creates a vivid imagery. So when I said I feel blue or I see red, either you would have thought of me like a smurf, blue in color. I feel blue. Just imagine me in blue. But you'll get the point that I'm sad or I'm seeing red. I'm ready to charge. I'm very angry. So idioms can help you reduce your time in the speech. Can then convey emotions and create a vivid imagery, and that strikes the audience. Let's stop discussing about unimportant matters and let's dive into the meat of the subject. That's this long. Or I can say, let's cut to the chase. Cut to the chase is an idiom. So I reduce the length of the sentence. Let's stop discussing about the unimportant matters or the trivial matters and let's jump right into the project. So that's just a classic example of how idioms can reduce the length of the sentence. We have covered the what, we have covered the why. Now comes the how. how do we integrate it in our day-to-day usages? I also want to point out the fact that idioms, not just, they're very interesting because they can do a lot of functionalities with just little words. They also have a long history behind them, or there is a story behind every idiom. There is a story that is dated back to centuries. There is, idioms that was just born out of, some whimsical thought. So we're going to explore how it is, and we'll do that in three phases. Again, conversational. Sometimes this misuse, and some things that are a little advanced, but it would be great to use. Are you ready? All right. So let's start with conversational. How do you say all the best? This is, I think it's a little easy. Many of the people would understand. You are going for a speech contest. Somebody is going to come and wish you luck, all the best, good luck. Shally, you're on mute.
It's like something with leg. Mm.
Ah, I think we should play hot and cold because I know it's very close to it. No, the very
um,
first time when I heard this was for my very first, ISC contest. Somebody came and said, "Oops, I'm sorry, break a leg."
yeah.
And guess what? When I heard that, I was like, "What? I need to walk around the stage. The speaking area has to be covered. And you're telling me break a leg with utmost happiness. How is that possible?" Upon analysis, I found that break a leg means, go there, break a leg, have a good time, be successful. And you know how this stemmed from? Years and years back, when theater was very popular, it is still popular, but when it was very, very popular, the theater artist had a, superstition. So if they felt that if they wish each other best of luck or all the best, what would happen was the performance may not reach the peak level or they may not perform well. So in order to avoid that jinxing, they decided to wish each other right the opposite. So if you wish for a person, if you're wishing good luck, instead of that, what they would do is they would happily go around and say, you know what, break a leg, something negative. And over the years and over the century, that slowly became into, that evolved into synonymous as best of luck. So if anybody tells you break a leg, notice the vocal variety. We as Toastmasters, we are capable of doing that. If they say break a leg, it means good luck. And if they say break a leg, kind of, wishing for that. That is the first one. And the second one is, this is very famous. So all of us out there, when we have a little bit of itchy throat, what do we say? I have a small kitch kitch. Thanks to Vicks, we all say that kitch kitch in the throat, right? Or you have a small headache. You're slightly unwell. And in that case, I'm sorry, I'm messing this up. You can say, I feel under the weather. You're slightly unwell. You have a small headache, hitch, or, small cold. You're not feeling that great. So you feel under the weather. But do not go and say this when you have viral fever. No. That time you're not under the weather. You are not well at all. But if you're slightly unwell, you can use it as under the weather. A very interesting fact again dates back to centuries when there were sailors. Now, when the sailors were there, they were exposed to the weather, and because of that, they fell ill. Now, when they were ill, they were asked to go and rest in a room that came directly under the weatherboard. That's some part of his ship. So let's just think of it like this. There used to be a sailor who had a sail in his hand, and when the sailor was falling ill or the sailor fell ill, he was asked to go and rest in a room directly above that sail. And that is how the phrase under the weather came in. So you feel under the weather, you're slightly unwell. Hitch, hitch? No. I feel slightly under the weather. Spoiler alert. So this is something that all of us, fear. All those Stranger Things fans out there, we all, there is spoiler alerts coming in. There's a different way of saying it. I would say, a little formal way of saying it. Now, we all know that the Spider Man, Tom Holland, is famous for spoiling a lot of Marvel movies. And he does it by accident, right? He didn't mean to do it, but somehow it just comes out. So, instead of for something that has come out accidentally, when you reveal a secret accidentally, you say, spill the beans. I spill the beans. So, you reveal a secret accidentally. You give a spoiler alert. You give a spoiler. It was an accident. I spill the beans. Again, the fact associated with this centuries back, going to Greece this time. Back in Greece, how they used to cast their votes was with the help of beans. So if they had white color beans, it means yes. And if they had a dark color beans, it meant no. And this beans, they used to cast their votes in maybe a jar or an urn, and they would keep it covered till the election was over or till the counting was over. Now, accidentally, if the beans were spilled, you get to know the result of the election because you can just see how many white beans are there, what is the majority, and you get to know, okay, what is the result. And that is how the phrase spill the beans was born. It came from literal meaning spill the beans, and slowly it evolved over time to anybody accidentally revealing a small part of your secret. It's a spill the beans. So, spoiler alert can also be spill the beans. So, Tom Holland spills the beans every now and then. Hard truth. Now, I want all of you to answer this very honestly. How many of you love going back to office or university or colleges after a long vacation? See, what happens in this meeting stays in this meeting. I will not rat on you guys. So, going to university on Monday is in this weather is little difficult. Anybody else who loves to go to offices on Monday? All of you, oh my god, that makes me feel very bad. Okay, I take it back. I like going to universities on Monday. It is perfectly fine. All right, so if you don't feel that, but can we do anything about it? As a child, just imagine your 2 months of summer vacation, 60 days of fun and frolic and everything. And on the 59th day, on June 1st, you realize that you have to go to school. Is there something that you can do about it? No. You have to go to school. And that's the truth. You have no other option. That is the truth, and that's a hard pill to swallow. So something that is very upsetting or breaks your heart, a truth that is upsetting and breaks your heart, but you have to accept it. It's a hard pill to swallow. So I just lighten the mood by saying, vacations, but that's an easier way. Going to office on Monday, you had a wonderful weekend. Is there a way that you can skip? No, you have to go. It is a truth. You have to accept it and you have to move on. Again, centuries back old story. Back in those days, the pills were not that easy to swallow and they were very, very bitter. But to get better, you had to swallow it. You didn't have any other option. You had to swallow the pill. And that's how hard pills to swallow came into existence. Now it is being used to any fact or anything that happens in your life that it's hard to cope up with, but you have to accept it. And that is the conversational part. And I hope that you get to use a lot of these in your conversation. And shall we crank it up a notch? I feel this is a little easy. So we'll just level it up. Ready? All right. I don't know why, but Microsoft Teams, PowerPoint is revealing all my secrets. Something that is very misused. A complete 360. All right. This is 360. A complete 360. It should have been a complete 180. And I'll explain this with an example. 7 years back, if you had asked me to present an educational session, I would have happily said, no, I am a shy speaker. I am a shy person. I was a very shy person. I would not present a session. I would not speak in public. Then I joined Toastmasters and my confidence took a 360-degree turn. Now imagine this picture and I am at this point. And I say I do a 360-degree turn. It would mean from this point, and I had to turn like this and I come back to the same position. I complete one full round and I come back to the same position. Does that make a change? No. The speaker intends to say that there was a complete reversal. The effect was completely opposite. So instead of saying that my confidence took a 360-degree turn, it should be my confidence took a 180-degree turn. So from here, I go here. Sorry, you guys had to see my back, but 180-degree turn. So this is opposite. So next time when you want to say that I made a complete change, it should be 180-degree. You change your position from where you were to the opposite. Now I know there might be a slight question or one or two questions like, what about 360-degree evaluation or 360-degree transformation? That depends on the context that you use. If you use a 360-degree evaluation, it means that you have evaluated every single aspect, full, complete round. But when you say you have taken a change or you have made a change, a 360-degree change, in terms of position, you come back to the same position, like a square one. So it would be better to say I made a complete 180 degree, or change was 180-degree change. So my confidence took a 180-degree turn, and that's why I'm here. And this is how the mathematical representation is, or the either way. Write the opposite. The next one is nip it in the butt. This is a mispronunciation. This is a case of mispronunciation that I have heard many people say. The intention was correct, the usage was correct, but there was a slight mispronunciation. Nip it in the butt. It should be nip it in the bud. So, you've seen flowers, they first bud and then they bud. I've heard this a lot, and I'm like, I'm sorry, can you repeat it? And, nip it in the bud. No, 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 bud. The importance of enunciating that bud, the D. So what happens is that I'll explain this with an example. So we all know before a flower blooms into a flower, it is a bud and then it blooms. So nip it in the bud's meaning is before a potential problem escalates into a fully blown problem, you nip it in the bud. You stop it there. You arrest that potential problem from becoming a problem. To put that into perspective, let's say that I had a cavity. And I knew very well that if I do not nip it in the bud, it is going to go into decay, it is going to escalate into a different aspect, and then I will have to go for a root canal. So I nipped it in the bud and I filled the cavity. Before it became a decay, I nipped it in the bud. So this is the pictorial representation. You nip it in the bud. All right. On a different note, I did have a cavity. I did not nip it in the bud. I kept it there and it bloomed into, I would say, a tooth decay, and I had to go for a root canal. And I had to pay a lot of money for it. Root canals are very, very expensive. And that brings me to my next idiom, which is paying through my nose. And that it is not something that is misused, but it's a very common usage. I paid through my nose. Now, when I said that I had a root canal and it took me a lot of money, it cost me a lot of money, I can say that I paid through my nose for that root canal. It was very, very expensive. And you know how this one came into being? It is said that in the 9th century, the Danish conquered Ireland and they imposed a tax on every nose. And if you didn't pay the tax, they would slice your nose off. And that's something very, gruesome and brutal. But that is what Google told me. I asked Google, how did this come in? What is the origin? I wanted to know about the origin, and this is what Google gave me. That there are many debatable origins, but out of this is something that many theorists support. That the Danes had imposed tax on noses, and then what happened was, it actually they actually sliced their nose, and that's how paying through my nose became an expression. So if you expend, or if you do something, if you buy something that's very, very expensive, you can say I paid through my nose for it. I bought this iPhone 17 Pro, I paid through my nose for it. Very, very expensive. Yet another one is misused, and in the heat of the moment when you're very angry, you say I could care less, I do not care at all. It should be I couldn't care less. Now let's logically break down. Uh, let's say your care level is here. When you say I couldn't care less, it means that your care level is already at zero. It is impossible for you to care anymore. You don't care at all. But when you say I could care less, you're saying that it is not at zero. My care level is still here. I can. I'm possible. I'm capable of caring little more. So when you want to say that I don't care at all, it is better to say I couldn't care less. My care level is at zero. It is beyond me. It is impossible for me to go beyond that. I couldn't care less. I've used this multiple times. I made a mistake until I was corrected. So I couldn't care less. And this is a summary that is complete 360. No, it's a complete 180. I made a 180-degree change, nip it in the bud, paid through my nose for very expensive items. I paid extremely high prices for that. Could care less, couldn't care less. And now let us move on to the tough ones. Now things are going south. Sometimes, things went sideways, things went south. The trip was amazing till it started raining, and that's when things went south. Now, how this came into being is when you take a map, this is my notes, when you take a map, you can see the North Pole at top and the South Pole at the bottom. So generally, when things are going in a different direction or going towards the southern direction, it tends to be a fall, it tends to be a decline. It is associated with a negative trend. So that's where the phrase things are going south would come into play. When you say things are going south, there is a natural linking towards, decline. It's a growth towards the southern direction, it's a growth towards downwards. Taking a rain check. How many of you have heard this? A rain check. Can I take a rain check? Yes. So for all the speakers out there, this is a good usage that you can use with your VP education. Let's say your VP education comes in and says, Raji, I want you to do your level 5 speech. Okay. L5 speech. I think she already has it pending. So L5 speech, I want you to do it. And you are swamped with work. And you're going to, natural responses. Can I do it later or can I reschedule it for some reason? Imagine you add that zing to it. You say, "Can I take a rain check, and deliver the speech next week?" It's a very polite way of saying, can I do it later? I like it, but unfortunately, I can't do it, but I will do it next week. So next time you want to reschedule your speeches, you just have to tell the VP education, "Can I take a rain check, and I'll get back to you next week?" So rain check is essentially, asking to reschedule some other time because you can't do it right now. And this is a bit modern compared to all the other histories. All the other histories that I pulled in was, back in the 19th centuries and the 18th centuries when there were sailors that used compasses and all such things. This was made, I think, towards the 1980s. So I read it somewhere that back in the day when you couldn't book tickets, again, it's a little historical, but you can't book tickets online. You had to go to the stadium and you have to buy the ticket and then you enter the stadium. And it was originated during a baseball game. Yeah. So let's say there was a baseball match and the audience went there, the spectators went there. They went to the site, they bought the ticket, and they got into the stadium and it started raining. So the organizers would give them a rain check. That is, these spectators who have bought the ticket can watch a match at a different time, kind of like the next match, because they have already bought the ticket. So it was a rain check. The baseball match was postponed due to rain, but these guys had their tickets, so a rain check. Yeah, it was rain. It was raining that day, so you can go ahead and go and watch the match. And later on, that got evolved into such a way that, can I reschedule? It doesn't work for me today, so can I go for the next week or the week after that? So that is rain check. Now, this is my favorite, having a bad hair day. And I like the history behind this as well. It's not history, it's a little bit of psychology. Now, having a bad hair day is just a series of small, trivial bad things, or, small, trivial discomforts, or something of that sort, annoyances, small annoyances that snowball into a miserable day. For example, you wake up in the morning, you get stuck in your bathroom, then somehow you come out from there and then you burn your toast, and on top of that you spill your coffee on your shirt, and then you run late for your meeting because of the traffic block. Everything that happens in a single day, and that is a recipe for a miserable day. I had a very bad day because of all these things. You can also say, I am having a bad hair day. I'm just having a bad hair day. You got stuck in the bathroom, you burnt your toes, you spilled your coffee, you ran late for a meeting because of the traffic, and you had a horrible day because of all these things that happened in a single day. A bad hair day. Now, the history behind this is, and I know people who have hair, who have substantial length of hair, who are trying to cut their hair, who are trying to tie their hair, they will fail this. You are going somewhere, you're going to tie your hair, you're fully dressed, you're just you say, I just have to tie my hair, and you decided to tie your hair and your hair does not cooperate. And by cooperate, I mean it decides to be the most disobedient living thing on planet earth. And I faced that today morning when I was tying my hair. Something would come from here, something would come from there, it would look different, then I have to untie it, and you feel so frustrated. So that's something, before you leave the house, when you tie your hair and it doesn't work out, it stems into frustration. And on top of that, there might be other things that spiral downwards, and that becomes worse and worse and worse, and that makes your day miserable. It can be small trivial things like burning your toes, running late, or getting stuck in the lift, or maybe in the washroom. Small things that snowball into a major discomfort, and it all starts with a hair. So that's where you say, I had a bad hair day. But over time, it became, instead of saying bad hair day being literally associated with your bad hair, it became bad hair day, anything minute that sums up into major discomfort. So if you're having a bad day because of small things, you can, I had a bad hair day. And you can always think of this picture. And the next one is take the bull by the horn. And as the picture depicts, there's a man who's, trying to stop a bull by its horn. The CEO took the bull by its horns when the sales dropped. Now, the meaning of this is to stop something unpredictable, very dangerous, face a very dangerous situation with utmost courage and strength, resilience, and no other support. So, if you look at the picture, you can see the man tackling the bull with his bare hands by its horns. No rope, no noose, no people around, just you and the problem. I know that all of us have gone through some situation where only we were there, no support, nothing to help us, and we just faced the problem. We just stood the tide, we weathered the storm with just pure resilience. We took the bull by its horns. So the CEO took the bull by its horns when the sales dropped. And I think that should be the last one for me. Yes. I know I've been speaking for around 33 minutes now. Yes, I had the timer on 33 minutes. Now, I want you guys to guess the idiom. I have four of them, I think three or four of them. And I want all of you to unmute and I think yes, green guy. Okay. So I want all of you to unmute and guess the idiom. We are mixing it up a bit. I don't hear anything.
Green fingers.
Close.
Green thumb, but I saw the answer.
Oh, who's that? Somebody was very
Arati.
green thumb. You're very truthful. Yes, green thumb. A person who is very exceptional, or the natural talent for gardening. A person who has a natural talent for gardening. You go to that person's balcony or house, you see there, they have a lot of plants, thriving plants, not house plants, but just thriving plants. They're very happy and healthy. And they say, you can say that that person has a green thumb. Okay.
Even green fingers is used in the same context.
Oh, okay. I've heard of only green thumb, so that's why. So green fingers, good to know.
Yeah. An arm and a leg.
An arm and a leg. Close, close.
It cost me an arm and a leg.
Yeah,
Yes.
whatever. Yeah.
Arati.
So yes, an arm and a leg. So when you use it in a sentence, it cost me an arm and
Cost
a
me,
leg.
Yeah.
So when you say that it costs you an arm and a leg, it's that very expensive. Something. iPhone 17 Pro. Again, I know I'm attacking iPhone relentlessly. It costs an arm and a leg. Extremely expensive. This should be easy.
Think out of the box. Yeah.
No. Think
Out of the box.
No. I kept this for the last for same reason. It's a little tricky.
Zoom out.
Blackout?
No, it's associated with the color.
The sky, out of the blue.
Out of the blue, exactly.
Oh, out of the blue. Wonderful.
I knew the think out of the box would come in, so I've created this
Yeah.
image. Out of the blue. So something that happens, unexpectedly. So when Raji asked me, can you take a session? It was out of the blue. It was unexpected. Out of the blue. Oops. I should have made it fast.
Black sheep.
Black sheep. The black sheep. Yes, this is black sheep. An unpopular member of the family. So you have a family member who has gone different ways. So you have a family full of doctors. Somebody has gone for fashion designing. Immediately, people tend to say that, black sheep. And actually, I wouldn't support that. I would say that person has followed his or her passion. So black sheep is a person who is an unpopular member of the family, who usually does not conform to the family rules and who's gone his or her way. So black sheep. That's a outdated usage, but an idiom that can be used. And with that, we wind up and the platform is open for questions. I'll attempt to answer all the questions that I get.
Thank you, Maria. My name is Surya. I'm from Qatar.
Oh, hi, Surya. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. And I was referred to this session by Dev Balaji, who's
Oh,
from Trivandrum, but currently in Qatar.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And I happen to be a good friend of Malika. Malika used to be in Qatar also from Trivandrum. Yeah.
That's very,
Yeah.
very.
Now the question is, I'm very fond of idioms and phrases, but what we see is that the new generation, so-called Gen Z or whatever, millennials, whatever you call them, they are not very familiar with these kind of idioms. In fact, they don't know the proverbs and idioms and all that stuff. So, if we use our generation language itself, they are saying we are old time, we are boomers. So, if we start using these idioms in our speeches, will we be able to communicate with them? How do we balance it out?
That's an excellent question, sir. I would suggest, as a person who belongs to the millennial category, it also depends on the audience. So I love idioms. I love good usages. I note it down. Okay, this is a good usage. So if you tell me something that is, something that I don't know, I will make an effort to go ahead and try to use it differently. So if I would suggest if you try to use it in a speech, if it's in a Toastmasters platform, I don't think it would be a
Mhm.
problem. It would be great. But if you use it to a younger generation, I would suggest, you can use a simpler way, a simpler, I would say,
Mhm.
just mellow it down so that it's easier. And I've noticed that, Gen Z languages is very, very different. So if you use a little bit complicated, they're going to be lost on that, and they might even ask us what does it mean, and that could be an opportunity for us to tell them that. I wouldn't suggest that not using it at all, but just sprinkle it in there, little bit here and there. I would like to pass the power of idioms on.
Thank you. Actually, the way you presented with a story for each and every idiom, that's fantastic, because that's the best way to remember these idioms, because every idiom comes with a story,
Yes.
sometimes a real life story.
I know. I was pulled into that because of the under the weather. That was very fascinating for me. I'm like, okay, really, and then that got me into different idioms. So how did this originate? How did that originate? So I'll remember under the weather, the ship and the sailor story. Any other questions? As I always say, if no questions, either everyone understood everything or nobody understood anything. So I like the first option. Yes, I see.
Yeah, Arati gave a glimpse and went.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think she went to change her background probably.
Right.
Yeah, I'm watching everything. My observation skills improved after joining Toastmasters. Oh, finally, we could see everyone. Please come on video so that Maria could speak to real people. Hey, Arati is
Yeah.
back.
Tangam has a question.
Don't worry, Maria. Nobody will say it's all Greek and Latin for us.
Maria, nice session. I just joined midway, missed some of it. Thanks, Raji, for reminding. And I really like the way I like the quiz. I want a longer quiz next time, okay? I will
Yes,
just get
definitely.
warmed up. And I really loved the misuse of the idiom nip it in the butt. That's the first time I'm hearing it, but it's too funny.
No, I've heard
But
it a
when
lot.
you translate to Malayalam, it's so correct, no? Mulaile nullikalaya. So it's just a translation of that
Yeah,
Malayalam.
I've heard the original version, but the other version, it's the first time, and I'm just wondering how people can even use it.
Yeah, I was
It
also.
becomes the mispronunciation, the D and the T, it becomes, I nip it in the butt. It comes
Yeah.
in when you speak very fast. I'm sorry, what? And for,
May-
Toastmaster, we
Maybe,
catch it.
maybe somebody got a small cyst at the wrong place, and they're talking about it.
Quite
Before it
literally.
becomes a sepsis, they want to get it removed.
Very good. Thank you.
I see Tangam has raised her hand.
Hey, hi Maria.
Hey, Tangam, how are you?
I'm good. Wonderful session. And
Thank
I
you.
heard only last couple of 20, half of the part, I guess. Great session. One question though, from contest perspective. So if we add an idiom to a speech, let's say it's kind of a medium one. So probably in the audience, not everyone would know the meaning, the
Mhm.
context, but some may have. So would you recommend to use such kind of an idiom in our speech or not? Because from judge's point of view, you may score a mark,
Mhm.
but maybe from whole audience point of view, maybe only some of them would understand, not everyone would understand that particular context.
If I may answer this question, just a minute.
Yes.
The judges are just a microcosm of the audience. If you think judges will understand, other people will not understand, I think that's not quite right. If judges would understand, other people will also understand. Judges are not from different world. They are also from the same universe.
I will also like to pitch in, Tangam, if your gut feeling says that some people will not understand, think that you are true, you are right. If you have a feeling, you have the slightest doubt, then people will not understand. Second thing is, it's always for a contest, it's not your complexity that is going to win. So keep it simple, reach out to the heart of the people, that matters. You might want to use these jargons in your professional or somewhere that you
Mhm.
want to impress. Just to show off your vocabulary, just to be a Shashi Tharoor for some time, you might want to use it. But keeping it simple can also win hearts and contest.
Yeah, but as Maria
Exactly.
mentioned, if you have a long sentence and then your speech time is overshooting, this is a very good option where we can still have that content with lesser words used.
Exactly. So I'll just mirror what all of them said. First thing, keep your audience in mind. If they don't understand the speech fails. So they need to understand that. Having said that, when you say something that's, medium, not something very tough. So when I said, having a bad hair day, that's not very popular. Right. So when you say in your context, there's a certain phrase when you say I had a bad hair day, there is a likely chance, there's a 90% chance that people might think that day your hair looked bad. All right, and they're like, but that day, and they wouldn't be able to piece it together. On the other hand, you say I that day it was raining cats and dogs or something very, very very easy to understand, something that is easy to
Popular.
understand, very popular, that would ring a bell and that would reduce your speech length of the sentence. So always keep your audience at heart. They need to understand, they need to remember the speech. I used one word once upon a time, quandary, and I was asked by my mentor, explain the meaning to this. She knew the meaning, but I had to explain the meaning, and she's like, do you realize that one word would have been like, quandary? No, confused. Easier word.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Raji. Thank you, Arati. And the first person, I guess, from Qatar. I didn't catch your name.
And we have
Surya.
Mr. Chief Judge here, so probably she can throw
Yeah.
some light on what
Maria,
should be done.
also, I would recommend you to do a session on phrasal verbs, which are much more powerful than idioms.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Because people do mess up on phrasal verbs. This is the
Yes.
preposition they put after a verb. They tend to use the wrong preposition, which may give a completely different meaning.
Understood, sir. Definitely, I'll definitely look into it.
Yes, Natasha, we are waiting for your response. What should we do?
No, I think the expert has answered. That was really nicely explained by Maria and Aarti. I think what Aarti said was right. And if you have even the slightest gut that this is something, the very fact that it crossed your mind means when in doubt, doubt the doubt and let it be out.
Yeah, better to err on the side of caution.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And of course, if you are looking to contest, then please look at the ballot and see how many marks there are allocated to language and vocabulary.
Five, just 5.
Right. There you got your answer.
I can see a raise of hand by Maru. If you have a question, please go ahead.
I have a question. I want to know that for which type of people we can use idioms like friends, colleagues,
Language
seniors.
idiots like me.
So you can use. Sorry, sir. Go ahead.
No, just joking. Sorry, it's a
So, sir, to answer your question, I would suggest you can use it based on your audience. So when you ask me friends, you have Toastmaster friends, you can always use it with them. They will, if they don't understand, they'll go ahead and they'll find out what does that mean. We are very curious that way. If you have other friends or, people who, okay, they will catch on, go ahead, use it. And there is no harm in trying. I would always suggest you find a new word, try it out there. You may make a mistake. There might be a person who asks about this. It's, it is your opportunity to let them know. You can think of this as a, I wouldn't say teaching opportunity, but an enlightening opportunity. You say that, okay, I didn't get that phrase. Oh, that phrase means this. You can use it there. One more person who uses the idiom and it passes on. So go ahead, feel free. And as the, Toastmasters motto is, let's make mistakes and grow together. Learn from the mistakes, grow together. So go ahead, you can use it with anybody and everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very silent.
Yeah, any more questions? I think they are all ready with the idioms you taught, Maria.
Yeah, with some of these Indian, I'm so glad that you uncovered a lot of the research. That like raining cats and dogs. Who would have even thought that was the reason why we had raining cats and dogs or hard pill to swallow? A lot of research went into your presentation, and I lot going back very enlightened with it. So thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for such a
much.
beautiful session.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Division Director, for bringing this to us.
I think Shalu is
I
seeing red.
support, yeah, I support Nitaksh's view on that. Now you have made us think about these idioms. Next time we hear a idiom, we are going to Google and say, why did they even think of it?
I'm happy that happened.
Yeah.
I think Shalu is seeing red.
Yeah,
Now it's
Shalu
lit.
can move your background, and anyway, Maria can give the control back to probably to the MC.
I recommend clubs to have themed meetings around idioms, to idioms centered around food, idioms centered around rain, like that. You can have something like that. It'll be very interesting. It could be learning and it could be fun.
Yes.
Do you have a shareable PDF? A lot of learning today.
Oh, I can definitely send this across the PPT.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you. So we can be a little more mindful when we use these idioms.
Definitely. I'll send it across.
Yeah, let's nick the bud.
Hi Maria, Arun here.
Hi Arun.
While explaining out of the blue, you quoted Rajeshwari as example. Recently, one gentleman was asking you to explain phrases and words. Would you use the same idiom again?
Yes, that request was something that I did not expect. It was very surprising. So when he asked me, "Can you do that?" and if he, I would say that I put it for the later stage. I said I would look into it. But if he had said that, can you do it right now? I would be taken aback by surprise. I was not prepared for it. I was not expecting it. So that would be, I could use that in that context. I hope I am correct. I can make mistakes, like how Gemini says, responses may have mistakes. So I think this is the correct phrase. When you are taken by surprise, and I didn't expect that to happen. So yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah,
Surya says,
my VP is here, and
Okay.
then next time I'll say I'm doing a rain check instead of postponing my meeting. That sounds fancy.
so all the VP education, if you hear the rain check business, no, you're not getting a rain check. Can I get a rain check? No, you're not getting a
Yeah,
rain
this
check.
will go
No
to the
rain
other
check.
idiom, no? Raining cats and dogs.
But-
Every day it's raining.
You nip it in the butt.
no,
No rain check.
this is also very important. What you said is very, very important, because sometimes if the thing has gone out of fashion, the idiom will also die with it. For example, when we say rain check, now with so much of digital banking going on, through UPI and all that stuff, hardly anybody goes to a bank, hardly anybody issues a check. So
Yeah.
future generation may not even know what is a check. So if the people don't know the word check, then rain check has no value.
Exactly. So let's make it a point that it doesn't die with us, push it
Yeah.
on, let it be there. Let's popularize it.
That's
Yeah.
a
Normalize it.
scary thought, actually.
I know. There are people who like, really, there were flip phones when you were kids. They thought it was just
Yeah.
Samsung doing the fold. No, we had the, sliding phone, the flip phone and all these things. But
The one with big antenna.
oh, yes, the big box, then the Siemens one.
Mhm. Yeah.
The payphone, the STD booth.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You had a dialer that you had to do 0 to 1.
Right. Before STD booth was the lady at who you would call and say, please book me a trunk call.
There's a Maria raising hand to talk to Maria.
Yes, that's me. Yeah, I'm talking. I want to talk to Maria.
Hi, Maria.
My doppelganger name.
Yeah, nowadays when the new Maria joins, everybody say, "Oh, DT Maria is in the meeting," and then finally they discover this is our newbie Maria from Central Narratives.
Okay. I'm hoping I'll just come on video for a minute. Yeah. And I really loved the way you explained things, and it was so easy to understand. Yeah, you've done a lot of research on the topic. And I joined in half an hour late because we got the link only half an hour late. So will
Yeah.
it be okay if I get the recording, because I really want to know what happened in the first
Hey,
half an hour.
Maria, we will be uploading it to the Division G official YouTube channel, and you will get the link, so you will be able to catch up from the beginning.
Great, great. Yeah, that's nice. Thank you. It was really lovely session.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any other questions before I disperse the class or, bring down the curtains? All right. So thank you so much, team. It was wonderful seeing you. And thank you so much for joining on a Thursday evening. Thank you so much. Have fun.
Thank
Maybe
you.
spread the
You
power of
too.
idioms. Thank you so much, sir. So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
spread the power of idioms.
Yeah, please hand over to the MC of the day, Shalu.
Okay, I'll hand
MC is
to.
waiting.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Maria. You really hit the nail on head today. Your session was on sport. And as we come to the end, the tail end of the session, it's time to tie up all those loose ends and express our heartfelt gratitude. And to do that, we need someone who never misses the mark and someone who always hit the nail right to the head. And to deliver the vote of thanks, we have a leader who doesn't just lead from the front, she leads by example. A leader who is guided, supported, and uplifted our Division G more than times than we can count. Our Division Director, Rajeshwari Sridevi. Over to you for the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, our energetic MC, Shalu. And what should I say? Distinguished Toastmaster Maria George. When I thought about having an education session on something useful for all the members, you were the only person who came to my mind. And thank you so much for doing this. I know you are on a different time zone, you are studying, you were having exams, you committed on a date, you prepared so well and made this a wonderful session. I had a lot of takeaways from my end as well. I learned a lot of new idioms, but knowing the background made all the difference. Some of them we use it, but we don't know the background of it. You corrected few of the usages, so you demonstrated by turning your head back to show that complete 180 degree and what not. So happy to have you back virtually at Division G. And already you got request to continue with the education sessions. I would really love to have you back with few more education sessions. I'm quite sure that all of our members will benefit. And we are so happy to have you back. And those who don't know, we both were co-ADs last year, and Maria is a fun co-AD to have, very knowledgeable, a champion speaker, and a true leader. And we all are so proud of you, Maria. We wish to have more sessions from you in the coming months based on your schedule. Thanks a ton from the bottom of my heart for doing this in between your busy schedule. And thanks to all of you who joined. And special mention to Shalu for taking up the role of MC. There was a glitch at the Zoom end that it was not allowing members, then we have to restart the whole session. I think few of you were waiting to join, but nevertheless, we could do it. And I'm so happy that we had a wonderful session today. Thanks to all of you. And we will be back with a wonderful session in another series where we have this learning hub going on. And we will see you soon. Back to the MC.
So thank you all for joining. And tonight we can all just stream with our idioms. And next session we all can wait as maybe Maria George can come up with the phrases as recommended. Hope and well. Thank you all. Yes.
Thank you, team.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Good night. Bye.
I'll end the
Bye.
meeting.